Three ancient works carry the name of Enoch. Open them side by side, and the sky itself seems to change. In one, Enoch moves through a vast cosmic landscape. Mountains, prisons, chambers of the dead, storehouses, portals, and a terrifying house of fire around the throne of the great glory. In another, he rises through numbered heavens, guided level by level through a carefully staged ascent. In the third, the journey enters a world of heavenly palaces, angelic princes, divine names, and Metatron, an exalted being who says that he was once Enoch. Modern retellings often blend these images into one continuous tour. 7 heavens become 10. A prison from one work is placed beside a palace from another. Metatron is carried backward into texts that never name him. The result can sound like a single eyewitness diary whose details somehow changed over time. But that is not what the surviving texts are. First Enoch, Second Enoch, and Third Enoch are conventional modern titles for 3 separate literary traditions. They were formed in different periods, preserved in different languages, and shaped for different purposes. Their similarities are real. So are their differences? The question is not which author forgot the map. The question is why later communities kept returning to Enoch, and why each return rebuilt the heavenly world around him. To answer that, we have to resist the most tempting shortcut. We cannot begin by counting heavens. We have to begin by separating the books. The names First, Second, and Third Enoch make the works sound like volumes in a series. They are not. The numbering is a library convenience, not an ancient publication plan. First Enoch is a collection formed over time in the world of Second Temple Judaism. Its major sections include stories of the Watchers, journeys through the cosmos, visions of judgment, an astronomical calendar, symbolic dreams, and exhortations. Ancient portions survive in Aramaic fragments from Qumran. Other evidence survives in Greek. The complete form that has reached us is preserved in Ge'ez, the classical language of Ethiopia. That complete preservation is one reason the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo tradition is so important to the history of the work. Second Enoch is a different composition. It is preserved chiefly in Church Slavonic manuscripts, with Coptic attestation also known, and it probably passed through a Greek stage. Its date is contested. Some scholars have argued for an early Jewish core. Others place important stages later. The uncertainty matters because the text did not travel to us in one transparent line. Third Enoch belongs to a later world again. It is a Hebrew hekalot, or palace, work of late antiquity, often dated in its major form around the 5th or 6th century. Its narrative begins not with the patriarch Enoch speaking directly, but with Rabbi Ishmael ascending and encountering Metatron. These are not merely 3 versions of the same manuscript. They are 3 different acts of literary memory. Each takes the brief biblical figure of Enoch and asks what kind of knowledge he could authorize. Each then constructs a heavenly world suited to that question. The numbering hides this history. Once the history is restored, the changing heavens begin to make sense. First Enoch does not give us a neat staircase marked Heaven 1 through Heaven 7. Its visionary geography is wider, stranger, and less uniform. In the Book of the Watchers, Enoch approaches a house whose walls seem built of crystal and surrounded by tongues of fire. Beyond it stands a greater house. Fire burns around it. Within is a throne of extraordinary height, with wheels and streams of flame. The scene draws on the language of a heavenly temple and royal court, but it is also designed to overwhelm. Enoch falls on his face. From there, the text does not simply move upward through numbered floors. Enoch is carried across cosmic boundaries. He sees mountains, waters, winds, and places of darkness. He sees a prison associated with rebellious stars and transgressing angels. He is shown hollow places where the dead await judgment. Elsewhere, he encounters a sacred mountain and a fragrant tree reserved for a future age. Other sections widen the map again. The astronomical book follows the courses of the sun and moon through gates and portals. The concern is not tourism. It is order, seasons, calendars, winds, luminaries, and the structure of a cosmos that can be known because it has been measured and revealed. Numbers appear throughout 1st Enoch. There are lists of angels. There are 7 mountains. There are chambers and portals. But these features must not be rearranged into a formal 7-heaven ascent. The text gives us many cosmic regions, not the same numbered ladder found in 2nd Enoch. That distinction changes how the journey works. 1st Enoch often moves laterally across a sacred cosmos, as much as vertically toward a throne. Its world is a moral geography. Places reveal the fate of rebels, the waiting of the dead, the order of the stars, and the certainty of judgment. The map is not organized mainly by altitude. It is organized by meaning. The survival of 1st Enoch adds another layer to the story. Aramaic fragments found at Qumran show that substantial parts of the collection circulated in antiquity. They do not give us the original autograph, and they do not preserve the entire book as we know it. But they place several Enochic writings firmly inside the textual world of Second Temple Judaism. The complete surviving collection comes through the Ethiopian tradition. That does not mean the work was originally written in Ge'ez. It means that Ethiopian manuscripts preserved what other transmission lines preserved only in part. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church includes Enoch in its canon, while most other Jewish and Christian traditions do not. This difference in reception is sometimes turned into a story of universal suppression. One original Bible, one coordinated removal, one hidden map. The evidence supports a more complex history. Different communities copied, translated, valued, and canonized different collections over long periods of time. For our investigation, the key point is simpler. The 1st Enoch we can read is itself a layered archive. It contains several kinds of revelation and more than one literary horizon. Asking it for one architectural diagram of heaven is already asking the wrong kind of question. Its unity lies less in a single floor plan than in the authority of Enoch as a revealer. He can cross boundaries ordinary humans cannot cross. He can see the moral structure behind the visible world. He can carry knowledge from heaven to earth. That role will remain. The architecture around it will not. 2nd Enoch changes the experience immediately. Here the ascent is explicit and tiered. Angels take Enoch from earth and lead him upward through numbered heavens. The journey has a sequential rhythm: arrival, encounter, explanation, ascent. At each stage, the world becomes larger and the authority of the revelation increases. The lower heavens contain cosmic operations and beings assigned to them. Enoch sees storehouses, movements of stars, and forces connected with weather and the created order. Other levels contain angelic hosts, places of punishment, paradisal regions, and the service of those who stand before God. The exact details vary across textual forms and editions, but the governing pattern is unmistakable. This is a ladder. At the summit, Enoch is brought into the presence of God. He is transformed, clothed in glory, and instructed. He writes books, yet the narrative does not end with permanent disappearance. Enoch returns to earth and teaches his family. The heavenly journey becomes a foundation for ethical instruction, knowledge, and transmission. That return is crucial. 2nd Enoch is not only interested in what exists above, it is interested in what heavenly knowledge demands below. The ascent authorizes teaching. The vision becomes a testament. The surviving work is chiefly Slavonic, though Coptic fragments show that Slavonic only is no longer an adequate description. A Greek stage is widely proposed, but no complete Greek text survives. Its date and textual growth remain disputed. So even before we count the heavens, We are dealing with a work whose road to us passes through translation, copying, expansion, and competing forms. The numbered architecture looks more precise than first Enoch's landscape, but its transmission will make the number itself unstable. This is where the popular phrase, Enoch's 7 heavens, begins to break apart. 7 is the usual number in much of the surviving tradition of Second Enoch. Many presentations therefore guide the reader through 7 levels, but some longer-form witnesses discussed by scholars count 10. In those forms, the upper realm is subdivided, producing additional numbered heavens before the final encounter. The difference does not require a conspiracy. It does not show that 3 heavens were discovered and then censored. It shows that a visionary architecture could be transmitted in more than one textual form. One marginally reported version even uses 5 heavens. That is not a major 5-heaven recension and should not be treated as equal in weight to the better-known 7 and 10-heaven forms. But it is an instructive warning. Once a text has traveled through languages, manuscripts, and editorial traditions, a number that looks fixed may belong to a particular form rather than to an uncontested original. The relationship between the longer and shorter forms remains disputed. We are not in a position to declare with certainty that 7 came first and 10 was added, or that 10 was original and 7 was compressed. The surviving transmission does not give us one uncontested original count. This uncertainty is not a failure of the evidence. It is part of the evidence. A manuscript tradition is not a transparent window. It is a history of copying decisions, inherited readings, expansions, omissions, reorganizations, and local understandings. When the architecture of a revelation changes inside that history, the change tells us something about the life of the text, even when it does not tell us exactly who made the change or why. Second Enoch therefore gives us the clearest numbered ascent of the 3 works, but not one perfectly stable diagram. Its ladder is real. Its final number is transmitted. The transformation of Enoch in Second Enoch also deserves careful attention, because it can be confused with what happens much later in Third Enoch. Near the height of the ascent, Enoch is anointed and clothed in garments of glory. His earthly condition is changed so that he can stand within the heavenly court and receive revelation. The language is exalted, but the narrative still preserves a clear sequence of authority. God commands, angels serve, Enoch receives. Then Enoch returns. He comes back to his household carrying books and instruction. His transformed appearance and heavenly knowledge authenticate his message, but he remains the human mediator who must teach those below. The ascent reaches its purpose in transmission. This pattern differs from First Enoch, where the collection gives us multiple visionary journeys and cosmic revelations. It also differs from Third Enoch, where Enoch's exaltation becomes the foundation for an enduring angelic identity. The same figure can therefore serve different literary functions. In one tradition, Enoch is the ancient scribe who surveys cosmic judgment and order. In another, he is the ascender who returns with a heavenly testament. Similar motifs do not erase those differences. They show why Enoch was so reusable. Genesis gives only a few enigmatic lines. Enoch walked with God, and he was no more, because God took him. The brevity creates space. Later writers fill that space with journeys, books, calendars, judgments, and transformations. But each filling belongs to its own text. The biblical silence is shared. The answers are not. Third Enoch opens in a different literary universe. The guide is Rabbi Ishmael, a major figure placed within a visionary frame. He ascends through heavenly palaces and encounters Metatron, the Prince of the Presence. The central image is no longer a route through cosmic storehouses or a numbered ladder. It is the royal and liturgical world of the divine throne. Gates, palaces, angelic ranks, names, seals, songs, and authority. This is the world often called Hekalat or Merkava mysticism. Hekalat means palaces. Merkava refers to the divine chariot throne associated with Ezekiel's vision. The traditions are diverse, but they share an intense concern with approach to the heavenly court. Who may enter, what dangers surround the throne, how angels are ranked, and how divine authority is mediated. Third Enoch is preserved in Hebrew and belongs in major form to late antiquity, many centuries after the earliest parts of First Enoch. It is not a lost chapter that simply continues Second Enoch's ascent. Its characters, language, problems, and symbolic world are different, and yet it reaches backward to Enoch. Metatron tells Rabbi Ishmael that he was once Enoch, son of Jared. The old patriarch has not merely visited heaven. Within this text's narrative world, he has become one of its highest angelic powers. That claim is the great reversal of the episode. The heavenly world changes because Enoch himself changes. Third Enoch describes Enoch's exaltation in deliberately overwhelming terms. Metatron recounts that God took him from the generation of the flood. His flesh is transformed into flame. His body is enlarged and glorified. He receives wings, eyes, a garment, a crown, a throne, and authority among the angels. He becomes a celestial prince and a bearer of the divine name. One title is often translated Lesser YHWH. It is among the most dangerous phrases to remove from context. The title signals extraordinary delegated authority and proximity to the divine throne. It does not straightforwardly mean that Metatron is equal to God. The entire structure of the narrative depends on hierarchy. Metatron is elevated because God elevates him. He acts because authority is granted. His glory is immense, but derivative. That distinction matters because modern retellings often move in one of two directions. Some flatten the passage until Metatron is merely an ordinary angel. Others inflate it into proof that Enoch became God. Neither captures the tension of the text. Third Enoch places Metatron near the divine boundary. It then works to mark that boundary. Metatron can sit. He can judge or administer. He can possess a throne-like seat and a name linked to divine authority. These features make him unlike the surrounding angels. But the text does not leave the risk of confusion unanswered. The answer comes through a scandal in heaven. A figure known as Ahir enters the heavenly realm and sees Metatron seated. In the logic of the heavenly court, sitting suggests authority. Ahir draws the wrong conclusion. He wonders whether there are two powers in heaven. The response is severe. Metatron is punished, and his seat is removed. The episode functions as boundary control. It acknowledges how exalted Metatron appears, then warns against confusing delegated authority with a second deity. This is not evidence of a historical cover-up. It is a theological drama inside a late antique mystical text. The drama preserves both sides of the problem: the attraction of an exalted mediator and the danger of compromising divine uniqueness. That problem does not dominate First Enoch in the same form, nor is it the organizing question of Second Enoch's numbered ascent. It belongs to the literary and theological world of Third Enoch. The shift is now visible. First Enoch asks how the hidden moral and cosmic order can be revealed. Second Enoch asks how an ascender can receive heavenly knowledge and bring it back. Third Enoch asks how an exalted heavenly mediator can stand near the throne without becoming a rival to God. The architecture follows the question. A cosmic landscape suits judgment and order. A numbered ascent suits progression, initiation, and return. A palace hierarchy suits rank, liturgy, names, and the policing of divine boundaries. The heavens differ because the texts are doing different work. At this point, one objection deserves a fair hearing. Perhaps these are not different heavens at all. Perhaps they describe different districts of one vast supernatural cosmos. A mountain in one vision, a numbered level in another, and a palace in a third might all fit within a larger map that no single text fully reveals. As a theological harmonization, that is possible. The texts do not give us the means to disprove every attempt to combine them. Ancient cosmologies were flexible, and similar motifs could coexist. But historical comparison asks a different question. It asks what each surviving work actually presents, how it was transmitted, and what function its architecture serves. On that level, the works do not supply one controlled itinerary. They do not tell the reader where first Enoch's chamber of the dead sits inside second Enoch's numbered sequence. They do not explain how third Enoch's palaces correspond to those levels. The combined map is created by the harmonizer, not delivered by the texts themselves. A second objection moves in the opposite direction. If the maps differ, perhaps they contradict one another, and therefore one must be false. That conclusion also goes too far. Difference is not automatically contradiction. A text may describe another region, use another symbolic scheme, or pursue another literary purpose. Even direct tension would have to be demonstrated passage by passage. The responsible conclusion lies between forced harmony and forced conflict. The three works preserve different textual geographies, routes, hierarchies, and purposes. They can be compared historically without being turned into a linear trilogy or a single map. Why, then, did the heavenly world keep changing? The first reason is time. The Enochic traditions span many centuries. The earliest parts of First Enoch belong to the Second Temple period. Second Enoch has a disputed history, but its surviving forms reflect a long transmission. Third Enoch's major form belongs to late antiquity. Across that span, Jewish communities faced new empires, new intellectual environments, new debates, and new forms of religious imagination. The second reason is genre. A cosmic journey, an ascent testament, and a palace apocalypse do not organize knowledge in the same way. Genre is not decoration. It determines what kind of evidence the narrator provides and what kind of transformation the audience is meant to experience. The third reason is transmission. Texts move through languages and communities. First Enoch survives through Aramaic fragments, Greek evidence, and a complete Ethiopic tradition. Second Enoch survives chiefly in Slavonic forms with a complex recensional history and Coptic attestation. Third Enoch survives in Hebrew Hekkalot manuscripts and compilations. Every line of transmission creates opportunities for preservation, loss, rearrangement, and reinterpretation. The fourth reason is the changing use of Enoch himself. Enoch can authorize ancient wisdom because Genesis places him before the flood. He can reveal judgment because he crosses the boundary between earth and heaven. He can teach astronomy because he sees the machinery of the cosmos. He can become a model ascender because God took him. And in Third Enoch, he can become Metatron because the tradition imagines his removal not merely as absence, but as exalted heavenly service. The figure remains recognizable. His office expands. This does not require a direct chain in which First Enoch evolves into Second Enoch and then into Third Enoch. The evidence does not authorize that simple genealogy. Traditions can share motifs without one surviving work copying another directly. They can draw on common scriptures, common stories, liturgical language, visionary conventions, or ideas that circulated beyond any single manuscript. They can also react to problems that earlier texts had already made imaginable. Historical comparison therefore works by controlled resemblance. We can say that all three traditions use Enoch to cross the human-divine boundary. We can say that heavenly knowledge legitimizes his authority. We can say that angels, judgment, glory, and divine presence recur. Then we must name the limits. First Enoch's many regions cannot be silently numbered. Second Enoch's numbered ascent cannot be given one original count with certainty. Third Enoch's Metatron cannot be imported backward into Genesis or First Enoch. Similarity allows comparison. It does not erase chronology, language, genre, or textual identity. This method may feel less dramatic than declaring that one forbidden book contains the true blueprint of heaven, but it reveals something more consequential. Ancient religious imagination was not static. It was a living archive. Each work received an inherited figure. Each placed him inside a new problem. Each made heaven legible in a new way. The modern confusion is understandable. The names encourage it. Search results encourage it. A video about 7 heavens may use images from First Enoch, a sequence from Second Enoch, and the transformation of Metatron from Third Enoch without announcing the transitions. The resulting story is vivid because every tradition contributes its most memorable feature. But popularity is not verification. A repeated online claim may reveal what audiences want to know. It does not establish what an ancient text says. The correction is not to strip away wonder. It is to place the wonder where the evidence supports it. First Enoch is more astonishing, not less, when its cosmic landscape is allowed to remain complex. Second Enoch is more interesting when its 7 and 10 heaven forms reveal a history of transmission rather than a single frozen diagram. Third Enoch is more challenging when Metatron's exaltation and subordination are held together instead of reduced to a slogan. Separating the works also protects the viewer from false choices. One need not decide that all 3 are literal travel reports or that all 3 are meaningless fantasy. They are ancient literary and religious witnesses. They tell us how communities imagined cosmic order, judgment, revelation, mediation, and the nearness of God. What they can establish historically is the development of texts and ideas. What they cannot establish by themselves is a scientifically verified geography of the afterlife. That boundary does not close the investigation. It tells us what kind of investigation we are actually conducting. We can now return to the opening question. Why do First Enoch, Second Enoch, and Third Enoch describe Enoch's heavenly world so differently? Because they are not 3 chapters of one eyewitness diary. They are separate Enochic traditions formed in different historical settings and preserved through different textual histories. They use the same ancient figure to solve different literary and theological problems. First Enoch offers a complex cosmic landscape of throne, judgment, mountains, prisons, chambers, portals, winds, and luminaries. It does not provide the same formal numbered ladder as Second Enoch. Second Enoch stages an explicit ascent through numbered heavens. 7 is usual in much of the surviving tradition, while some longer-form witnesses count 10, and the original numerical architecture remains unresolved. Third Enoch enters the palaces of late antique Jewish mysticism. There, Metatron identifies himself as Enoch transformed and exalted. He receives extraordinary authority, but the text preserves his subordination to God and dramatizes the danger of mistaking delegated power for a second deity. Could later readers combine these worlds? Yes, readers have always harmonized traditions, but the combined map is an interpretation, not a document waiting intact inside the ancient sources. The most responsible conclusion is also the most revealing. The Enochic traditions do not preserve one stable map of heaven. They preserve a history of how heaven was imagined, as moral cosmos, ascending order, royal palace, and boundary of divine authority. The map changes because the questions change. And through every change, Enoch remains what the brief line in Genesis allowed him to become: the human figure who disappears from Earth, then returns in literature carrying the shape of another world.